At this time, we're back. Eric DeSobe here, joined by my longtime friend and colleague, Joanna Belcher. All right, Joanna, you are a reality TV show,
Yes.
man, fanatic is probably the right word. And so we've been talking about all this drama with The Bachelorette recently in the news. But in the context of talent, I feel like there's some lessons to be learned here.
Oh,
So as somebody who's interviewed a lot of people, hired a lot of people, knowing that they just flamed out with this Bachelorette, canceled the season, what are some of the talent lessons here that people should pull from this experience?
you convinced me to talk on this podcast. I thought we were just going to solely talk pop culture reality TV, but now it seems I'm having to
We got
tie
tighter.
it to some. Okay, that's totally fair.
We
Have a
can do
plan B. Always be cultivating.
that.
The same way people say always be recruiting, ABR, always be
Yeah,
cultivating because you never know when you might need to have a backup plan
get
in
it back.
play. And it could be for good reasons. It doesn't have to be like a complete, kind of disaster that we're seeing unfold with the Bachelorette right now, but it could be, someone's ready for their next position or where they're needed in another part of the
Hmm.
organization. So I think it's always, and I learned a lot of this from my time in Kip, New Jersey, it's always really important to give a lot of leadership development at every level from day one. Like invest in people's strengths, figure out how people can take the things that they're good at and spread them to whether it's the school or the region or the organization. And through those opportunities, you can see, what people's capacity is for future opportunities.
Yeah, it's well said. I think one of the other lessons potentially is around like reference checks. Maybe is the connection here. Like there was clearly things in the news that Disney ABC knew about, and they proceeded anyway
Fair,
because there
fair.
was some upside that they were banking on. And this happens when you're hiring too. Like, hey, this person is flashy or a great resume
Mhm.
or knows just the right people in this time. But I've heard somebody said, how do you balance or think about this idea of the past or references when you're trying to make hiring
I'm
decisions?
going to answer this question, but first I just want to pause. Have you ever actually watched Secret Lives of Mormon Wives?
Never seen
Okay,
one minute.
I want to make that clear for the.
But so if I had seen it, would I have immediately been turned off on this
No, I
person?
don't think so. I think it's just important for the viewing audience to know that kind of your level of true knowledge here.
Yeah.
But
I but for the Bachelor and Bachelorette, I watched the first season. I'll pop in and out. I support the industry here in
yes,
LA, so you got to support your reality TV friends who are working
yep,
the business. So I'm supportive of that franchise at
fair,
least.
fair. I do think at one point in my hiring in Newark, Ryan, my boss, he was got us all kind of invested in this like ask for 10 references concept. And I can't remember, where we got it from, but the idea of if you talk to the one or two top people that someone lists on their, resume and their reference, of course those two people are going to share glowing things. But if you ask for 10 people, now you're making an investment as the hiring manager and taking the time to talk to everyone and really, make time for those conversations. But it's always better, I think, to invest that time up front and be able to talk to people at different phases of a person's journey, different who know them in different lights. And just, I think what you said about people wanting her to be on The Bachelorette, knowing, she would get really high results in some sense, like high ratings, but that comes
Yeah, the
with
rating
some of
people.
these
Yeah.
other traits or some of these other challenges. And I think that's often true. There's very few, including myself. I would never say I'm a perfect candidate for anything, right? We all have areas of strong strength, and then we have our areas of growth or things that make us more challenging to work with in certain situations or circumstances. So I think it's important to get as holistic as a perspective as possible.
So on this 10 reference idea, so it sounds like you had to execute some of this
Oh yeah.
sometimes for people you were
Hmm.
trying to hire. So how would you think about or balance uh, yeah, somebody legitimately changing and growing, and so what you're hearing from maybe two or three of the references out of the 10 isn't glowing and actually is kind of
Hmm.
alarming. And this might have been the case for what ABC might say, like we knew there were things that weren't great, but everyone deserves a fresh start, or everyone deserves a fair shot at turning a new leaf. How do you balance that tension?
I think for me, a couple things are really important. One is someone's self awareness. And in, some situations, I think on the Bachelorette scenario, there, one of the things
There's a
she's
lot.
kind of, one of the reasons I think she has a big following in the Mormon Wives franchise is people perceive her to be really real. They're like, she just kind of tells it like it
Mm,
is. She owns when she messes up, all those sorts of things. So I think for me, it is really important that someone knows themselves. If I'm here, if I'm asking you what your strengths and areas of growth are, or tell me about a time when you didn't show up in the way you wanted and how did that play out, and then the description I hear that other people are sharing of you and those two things don't align, that can be a flag to me. Because I think if you are self-aware and if you are able to take feedback and move on and grow and apply it, those two things are really, really important to me. And I found, unfortunately, in many scenarios, people haven't gotten the feedback. So whether or not it comes up in a reference
mm,
check, many times people haven't been given the gift of really clear feedback. Actually, when you're talking in meetings, these are the concerns and how the way you're presenting yourself resonates. Or here, you thought you did a great job on this project, but you alienated a lot of people because you didn't include them in the process. A lot of times people don't hear that just really clear feedback. And so for me as a manager, it's really important to always be giving really candid and transparent feedback to make sure people understand, hey, here's how I'm doing, and that's coming from a place of love. I care about you. I want you to be successful. And if there's evidence for me that someone has gotten the feedback, is self aware, and has taken that feedback and kind of applied it and changed their approach. Well, still, I mean, there are some things you still have to, you don't want someone to change who they are, their authentic self, but it is important that you show a track record because in most of the roles I'm, hiring for or looking at, someone needs to be able to adapt to different circumstances, different people. You can't just uh, kind of rely on, well, this is how I am. You have to be able to kind of um, figure out how to drive results in a lot of different scenarios and contexts.
Last thing, are you hiring or involved in any hiring for roles right now? If so, what are they? How could
I
people hear about it?
am, which is really exciting because the last couple years I haven't been doing as much of the team leadership as in the way I have in the past. So I have a role that is posted right now for the KIP Executive Director Accelerator. It's a great role for someone who has been an executive director, who has led an organization, who is both a wooer, really into talent, has lots of strong interpersonal relationships and skills, but also
Yeah.
is someone who cares about driving really outcomes oriented programming and development for people. And we're looking to create kind of what we used to call at KIP the Fisher Fellowship, where we train principals across the country, a corollary for executive directors, which I think is really exciting.
Okay. We'll put that. Is there a
There
link to a
is.
JD? There is one, right? Out in the world.
You
We'll
got to be
put
on
that in the episode
LinkedIn, buddy.
description.
It's up there.
Gotta follow Belcher on LinkedIn. Right now, what's your power ranking of reality show franchises for you? Like, what are you?
Ooh, so good. Well, I don't know. Okay, I just want to be clear that my ranking isn't quality based ranking. Quality is not really a
It
factor
is it is
here.
minutes spent watching
hmm
rank.
I just finished Love is Blind season
Oh, the
season
newest one.
10, the Ohio season. I think there are a lot of lessons.
There's a lot of talent things in Love Is
There's a
Blind. I feel like you could
lot
pull
of
out for
talent
sure.
things in
Yeah.
Love is Blind. There's some really trash behavior from some of the men on that
There's some
season.
HR issues in Love Is Blind as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So lots of
Okay.
personal and professional, life lessons from Love is Blind. I just got back to Real House. I've been going I Real Housewives of Potomac, love it. Very invested. I had my friends in town for a weekend and we were watching together, which is the best when you can watch with your friends and do the live
Yeah.
commentary. I just re-picked up Real Housewives of Beverly Hills because Rachel Zoe, talk about giving candid and direct feedback, really shining in that area. Just
Okay.
telling the other housewives what is what very clearly. I think people are a little taken aback, but also appreciative. So
Yeah, I feel like this is a side hustle you're not capitalizing on, where you have this PD series where you're just firing up clips of all these shows to illustrate all your
So my
points.
big dream that I had, and I never actualized it, was I really wanted to run professional development for leaders with Scandal and Olivia Pope.
Oh, sure,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
think that show
Totally
has
watching it.
so many. I'm a huge fan of anything Shonda has created. And I read all her speeches, her books, I've heard her speak a few times and love her. And so I think Shonda's done a master class. She's done all this, but I think Shonda should really do a leadership development course through the
Yeah,
characters on her
symposium.
shows. There's a lot to be learned there.
Okay. Well, we know Shauna listens to this podcast. I'm sure she'll get
If
right
you
on
can
that.
get Shonda to
Melissa,
listen to
thanks
this
for.
podcast, you're
Oh
my newest hero.
man, right there we go. Now you're
Oh,
in. Now
man.
you're in. All right, thanks for coming on. Thanks everyone for listening. Capture all the episodes where you get your podcast all the places and catch Belcher and I studying 4K on YouTube. Until next time, make sure you vet your Bachelorette
You're the best,
candidates.
DeSobe.
Goodbye.
Bye.